Hi there, my crafty friends. It is Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind Stamped AF, coming at you with another weekly video. This adorable card was inspired by Erica Serwin. One of my downline made an adorable Viewfinder card and said that she had seen it made by Erica. And I thought, oh, it was so cute. It was with the So Hoppy together, and it was with the frogs and the flies. And I thought, what other stamp sets do I have that I could make a Viewfinder card? And I immediately thought of the P.S. You're the Best stamp set. So I played around with it, and this is like a lefty Viewfinder, but I love it, and I am going to show you how to make it. We are going to alter it a little bit. We're going to do it in a different color scheme, and we are also going to make our own background because this is the Gingham Gala DSP, which is in very low quantity and not orderable probably at the moment. So we are going to make our own with the Buffalo Check background stamp. But let's just take a quick peek. So starting here, we've got P.S. You're the best, dear friend, which will make a little straighter on this version, and just a little heart. And I think we might make it in the coordinating color. I hadn't colored this when I stamped the Viewfinder part, so super fun. We are bringing in another wonderful year stamp set for the, whoops, not sure what happened to my lighting there, for the Thinking of You, and let's get down to it. So I'll have this just kind of off to the side for you to see the whole time. This is the supplies that we are using, obviously the two stamp sets, and you don't have to use another wonderful year. I just felt like I had a gap on that side that I needed to fill, and Thinking of You was a good one. So these are the supplies, and they'll probably grow as we go along. We are going to do Coastal Cabana this time. We need our memento because we are coloring with blends, and I have pre-stamped this second typewriter that we're going to color. My memento ink is taking forever to dry, so we need the two largest layering circle dies, both the scalloped and just the regular circle. We need, this one is just a scrap. Oh, this is for the scalloped circle, so we'll leave that just so that I'm not losing track of what is what. And then these are our mats, so this is the one that we will stamp right onto, and I'm going to start backwards. So this is our first mat, so this is 5 1/4 by 4. And then this is 5 by 3 3/4. And then this is 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. We're going down 1/4 of an inch each time. But I will have the measurements in the instructions below and in my blog post. And then we also have a Whisper White thick card base, and this is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, and it's scored in the middle at 4 1/4. We'll use our bone folder when we get down to it, but we can set all of this aside for now. Actually, let's stamp this so that we give our typewriter a little bit of time to dry while we are working with the rest. Now, this scrap is for our mechanism. And originally, this is all Erica's genius right here. Originally, I had done it in white, but we are going to do it in just a cheap, thin cardstock in a contrasting color to make it easy. So we will go through all of those steps, but let's stamp our typewriter so that it has some time to dry. That one doesn't make too much of a difference, but we don't want our sheet of paper to smear. So I'll just stamp the memento, and then we can get on with the rest of it. So you want to go fairly close to the edge. Okay, so we've got a perfect impression there. We'll just clean off our typewriter because that's all we need it for. I'm just cleaning it off on my chamois, if you're wondering what that lovely sound is. So we can't do our sentiments yet because we wouldn't know where to place them. I've got all my stamps mounted over here, so we'll just add that heart before I forget about it. Actually, I don't have them all on there. So these are the stamps. You could certainly put something else in there. This circle was a little bit too big to fit. I love you was a little too wide, but P.S. you're the best and dear friend fit just lovely. You could put P.S. you're the best, miss you, or you could add sentiments from another stamp set. So let's set these two aside where they are not going to get smeared, and let's get to our background first. So using Coastal Cabana, and I like to use my Stamparatus when I am making a buffalo check background. And this is a clear mount stamp, so we do not need our foam mat. Just mount it on there. And I always put a little run of snail on the back of my cardstock so that it stays put. So you can see that one we are going to fold in half. I just want to reiterate, this is not my design. I was inspired by Erica Serwin of the Pink Buckaroo, and I believe she even said in her video this was not her design. This type of card has been around for ages. So there we go. Now we are going to take our 1-inch circle punch and we are just going to punch some scraps. Something that contrasts that gray paper. And this is just some cheap white cardstock. I wouldn't use Whisper White just for this. So we'll run a little bit of snail on each one of these. Now, Erica has said this before, and I think it's a great idea. Once you get your punch in there, it is going to be next to impossible to center it. So instead, let's work on this side. Put your punch in the middle. Oops. And then you know it's going to be centered. Keep using it upside down. Okay, so now we are just going to take our 1-inch punch again and punch each one of those circles out. Whoops. I can tell I was cutting through both of them there. So we are done with the circle punch. Now what we need to do is put this on top of here, and we're just going to use a glue dot to keep it where it's supposed to be. Center that, and the scallops will help you because they should be even on all of those sides. And now we will get to stamping. And we are going, like I mentioned before, if I had been thinking about which color I was going to do this, I wouldn't have done a lovely lipstick heart. I would have done a Coastal Cabana. And I think we're actually going to do 2 because that one in there looks a little lonely. So there we go, like that. So I'm just using an A block here. We'll mount each one of them. So next we will do PS. Next is You're the Best. This one's a little tricky because you can't necessarily see where your circles end. Or maybe it's just me because I can't look at it the way I would because I have my camera in the way. So we're going to do Dear Friend again, and this time I'm going to try and get it straight. I apologize if my head ends up getting in the way. There we go. So that is all of our stamping there. We can take this off. And we are done with that now, but you could certainly keep it for another card. My glue dot does not want to come off. Actually, there's a reason for that. Let's not take that off yet. Let's use our paper piercing tool. And we are going to go right in the middle of there. And you could use a foam mat or something under there to make sure that you're not poking through to your table. That is one sticky glue dot. Okay, so we're done with that template. I am going to keep this one in my stamp case. So, we can start putting this together now. So I say so a lot. Take our bone folder and just score that down so it stays nice and flat. We can adhere our buffalo check background stamp now. And just hold that down for a few seconds so that that tombow gets a good grip on it. And now we are ready for our piece of Coastal Cabana. And really, you could emboss this piece. You're not going to see a lot of it, but it might add some nice texture. So you really don't see a lot of that buffalo check background stamp, but it does add a little something to it. The Gingham Gala was a little bit smaller, so you could see the checks on the outside, but that is okay. So let's come back to our third mat, and I lied, we weren't done with that circle punch. So what we need to do is take our template. I've already thrown my gray one away. So we need to punch our hole about there. Go a little bit further. Otherwise, it wouldn't be much of a viewfinder card because you wouldn't be able to see through it. Could have gone a little further that way, but that's okay. So we're going to trim just a little bit off of this side because right now we can't actually get to our viewfinder. And I think we're good. I am, however, going to file that down a little bit. I would suggest punching it from the other side. Okie dokie, getting that paper piercing tool back. let's line this up with where it needs to be. I wouldn't suggest using the PS You're the Best, or sorry, PS, because you don't get a good idea of where it needs to be. It's not wide enough. So I just poked back through the other way. And now we need a brad. And I just have these, I don't even know what size they are, just little brads from Michael's. They could be smaller. So now you just poke that through, do that up. Maybe not as tight as I have. And you've got yourself the beginning of a viewfinder card. And I have got a little bit of ink bleed here, so I'm just going to pull out my Tombow and get rid of those. If you don't have one of these Tombow mono sand erasers, you really need to consider adding it to your stash. You can find them on Amazon or a local craft store. I am in Canada, and the one place that I went to did not have them, and it was taking forever to order them, so I just went on to Amazon. And I will try to remember to put that link below. So we've got the bulk of that done now. Actually, I guess before we adhered that, we should have done our stamp, but it should lie flat enough that that will work. I always like to try out my stamp on a scrap of paper first. There we go, beautiful. Now, on this card, I was trying to fill up some white areas, but I'm not sure I'm gonna do that this time. We'll see, we might put something over here, but I felt like once the thinking of you was on there, it kind of filled the gap that I needed it to. Because it needed to be so far to the left to be able to turn, it left a lot of white space here. So that is why I did that. So I'm going to get, we don't actually have Coastal Cabana blends, but Bermuda Bay and Pool Party could work. You could use Stampin' Write markers as well. So I think what we're gonna do is we will use the dark Pool Party and the light Bermuda Bay. And I like to just start any place that has a line and add some shading. Now remember, with blends, you want to work fast so that you get that blending going on without using all of your ink. This doesn't have to be a perfect coloring job, but before that starts drying, let's get our dark Pool Party going in there. You can see I need a new one. I just keep going over the darker areas until I get the blending that I want. There we go. And then with the keys, I like to, you don't have to overthink this, but I like to add that shading. So I just go across. Otherwise, it tends to all blend in together and you don't get the impression that the buttons are really there. I'm not sure why I just colored that part, because usually I do that gray. I'm gonna get this end back out and just go over that really quick. Add a little bit in here just for a nice light shadow. And using the dark smoky slate, we'll just color in all these mechanics of the typewriter. And again, don't overthink this part. Now we will get to fussy cutting. And if you're wondering why I'm fussy cutting this part out, right now you just have the brad, which, I mean, it's not terrible, but I don't want people looking at the mechanics of this. I want them looking at the image and the sentiment. So that is why I put that piece on. So you can see on this one, it's raised and you're not looking at that brad. That is why there is method to my fussy cutting madness. Anyone else wish that every single stamp that Stampin' Up! Had came with thinlits? I know I do. Some people love fussy cutting, some hate it. I am in the middle. I do it because there are times where it needs to be done. I certainly don't like to volunteer for it, but whatevs. So we are going to use some dimensionals. So I used 4 of the regular size and then a couple minis here and there just to keep them raised. And just line that up. And there you go. Isn't it beautiful? The more we work this, the more it will loosen up. So now the next part is to put it all together. I think we do need a couple of those little alphabets. So again, we'll just get that scrap of paper. I do want this stamped off. I don't want it as dark as the first generation thinking of you. We'll do one up there and maybe one in that corner. Good enough. And then we will do, while we have it out, one here, and then I've got this sentiment. You're just my type. Beautiful. Not perfectly straight, but beautiful nonetheless. And while you have all this out, I would suggest doing an envelope to match, but that is up to you. So again, to keep this accessible, we are going to use some dimensionals. One of the full size in each corner. Few in the middle, and I'm going to give you one extra little tip to keep your dimensional from kind of falling flat on your mat. We're going to put one under here, but we are not taking that bottom dimensional backing off because we want it to spin, and if you peeled that off, you would lose your spin. This side doesn't matter so much. This is to, don't pull that one off, is to keep it accessible and raise it off. And while I thought the viewfinder should be kind of at the edge of the card, it would make for a very awkward matting. It would be like way over here, and you want it to fit in an envelope. So there we go, my friends. If I had not put that dimensional there, I'm not sure that you can see that, but if I hadn't put it there, this would dip down and it would be really hard to move. And there is no bigger circle framelit to mat this one to. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, I would appreciate a thumbs up. That would be fantastic. And I encourage you to hit that big subscribe button below for a new video each and every week. And hope to see you soon. Bye, friends.